All right, welcome Ethan Skolnick, starting 9 here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Hope that you had a good holiday. We're here on July 5th. Feels like a Monday, but actually a Wednesday. Our sponsor today is Manny Chang. Our sponsor, see? Feels like a Monday. Our producer today is Manny Chang. Manny, if you want to sponsor too, you can do that as well. Our sponsors today are All Pro Construction Builders. You can find them at allproconstructionbuilders.com. That's allproconstructionbuilders.com. Hurricane season always around the corner. In fact, it's already here. So reach out to Danny and his entire team at All Pro Construction Builders. You can find them at allproconstructionbuilders.com or All Pro Construction Builders on Instagram. What do? They'll get you those storm windows, those storm doors. Also, they can do the shutters for you if it's last minute, although don't wait that long. And get the renovations done too with them, because we know right now it's a little bit difficult to find a house and a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. So just, make the additions and renovations to your own house. Reach out to the guys at All Pro Construction Builders, 305-484-4429. That's 305-484-4429. allproconstructionbuilders.com. Also sponsored by U-Brake Wheel Fix. Mark and his team down there, you see him at our watch parties. Big Miami sports fan, as is Danny from All Pro Construction Builders. 305-748-0112, 305-748-0112, based in Aventura. Complete wheel solution. They'll do everything for you there, from the repairs to the refinishing, the polishing, the custom colors, all of it at U-Brake Wheel Fix. Pretty much anything that you may need in that wheel area, they do it for you. They got a great staff. And look, they had so much business. Some of it I would hope was from us, but they had so much business that they expanded to a new facility. So they're in Aventura now. Again, U-Brake, that's with a U, ubrakewheelfix.com. Again, mention 5 Reasons, 305-748-0112. All right, we are on day, I guess it's 5 of Dame time. I don't know how Dame time is clocked in the real world, but we're still waiting on the Dame Lillard situation to finalize. And what I wanted to do today, we took a little bit of a day off yesterday, as it seems that the teams did. What I wanted to do today was kind of give a little bit of a timeline here and also focus on what is, to me, still the most important thing. The most important thing in this entire situation is not the Miami Heat and it's not the Portland Trailblazers, but it's Dame Lillard. And it's how resolute is Dame Lillard going to remain during all of this. And the signs so far are good. In fact, he seems to be getting more resolute and more dug in. And if you follow his Instagram, his social media, Twitter, all the rest of that stuff, he's not changing his mind here. And not only is he not changing his mind, but he's the type, we saw it, how stubborn he can be. It's what made him great, right? Isn't that what that Modelo commercial is about? But it's also the attitude that he carried forward in Portland about how, he didn't want to run from the grind. He wanted to be different from everybody else, and he wanted to stay there. And now he's flipped, not without provocation. He has, okay? This idea that he just flipped out of nowhere is ridiculous. He gave them plenty of time. He gave them what as he said on his Twitter account, was I not clear? He was extraordinarily clear, tried to handle things behind the scenes. And then when it wasn't going to happen that way, or it didn't seem that Joe Cronin was going to do what he said he was going to do, he went public. And then, as I'm saying, he is continuing to go public. And so, again, as stubborn as he was in wanting to stay, he is as stubborn now in wanting to leave and in wanting to go to Miami. And that is the thing. The rest of this stuff, we can talk about all this and which players may go and who the Heat may include. The Heat know that they may need to include everything to get him, okay? And Heat fans are just going to have to accept that. So we can enjoy Jovic and Jaquez in summer league with the full knowledge that both of those guys could be gone, or at least one of those guys could be gone. And I think as you watch summer league and you watch, okay, what they may have in Chase Audige or some of the other players there, you say, all right, how are they going to replace the guys that they might have to give up? And I think they feel that they're confident that they can do that. You have to lean on your player development at a time like this, because you're going to have to give up guys to get somebody, and then you have to find a way to replace them. And this comes in from Red. Portland had 11 years to get it done. They can get as mad as they want. Exactly. Relationship doesn't work anymore, and it's one side that's not giving the effort, then the other person has to leave. Otherwise, the person who's not giving the effort thinks they cannot give the effort until the end of time, right? Isn't that how this works? Aaron Andrews, Portland has only themselves to blame why they're in this situation, not Dame or the Heat. Correct. And I think as we see here, as Dame stays in his position, it gives the Heat, time to figure out other variations of this trade that may work. So we're going to have a cap expert from Hoops Hype on tonight to kind of go through what this mega 7-team trade may look like, okay? And, Greg reported about Ben Simmons. I've gotten some mixed things about that. I'm going to try to clarify as much as I can as the day goes on, as I get more information. But it does seem like this is a trade that's going to have to expand beyond just the 3 teams, that it's going to probably have to include even more than that. And we signaled that. I don't think we signaled that it would be 6 or 7, but we signaled that this may require a bunch of teams. And it starts with this. Okay, it is not a slight on Tyler Hero that the Portland Trailblazers are not that interested in Tyler Hero. I keep saying this, but nobody seems to be listening. They have a player who's very similar to Anthony Simons, who doesn't make quite as much, although he did sign an extension, sort of to similar terms, but not as much. And they're of, again, similar age, similar skill set, similar stats. So why do you need another, particularly when you also have Scoot and you also have Shaedon Sharpe, both of whom we're going to get to see in Summer League. So I just think that when you look at it, you're going to have to find another team that sees value in Hero. And not in the Heat attaching a pick to give up Hero. I mean, I know that came out of Brooklyn. Ian Begley's very plugged in there. But, I mean, Miami needs to accumulate picks. They're not giving up picks with a 23-year-old guy who won 6th Man of the Year and has improved every season, even if not everyone wants to acknowledge it. So, look, eventually, okay, I do think a team is going to pop in here. And one team we've heard about, well, first we've heard about the Spurs quite a bit. But we've also heard about OKC, and OKC makes some sense also. Young team, and I keep characterizing Tyler as a young veteran. He would help a young team because he has been in pressure situations before in a high level and high leverage situations for a high level team in a high level organization. And this, I'll get back to Tyler in a second. If it comes down to taking Simmons to get the deal done, I'd rather take broken back Simmons than old man Lowry. It depends what you think you could get out of Ben from, at this point of view. What's crazy about Ben is Ben Simmons is the type of player that Pat Riley would covet back in the old days. Like, I mean, you're talking about a Magic Johnson. Again, I know that's a stretch, but a Magic Johnson-like skill set at his size, passing ability, facilitating, can rebound, do all those kind of things. But, Magic, of course, was a passable shooter. He wasn't a great shooter, but he was a passable shooter. Ben, as we know, won't shoot at all. But then it's also just a desire thing with Ben and how much does he care? And again, there's some around him who are saying he cares more. We would have to actually see it. It's just hard to know what's been injury related and what's been attitude related the past 2-3 seasons. It seems from the way the teams have reacted, they have felt it's been attitude related or at least desire related. But again, you don't know. The problem is, again, like I say, skill set wise, yes. I mean, although, him and Jimmy, we saw it in Philadelphia, spacing the floor is a bit of a problem, particularly you have Bam. But the other stuff, the facilitating, the playmaking, the defense, if it was back to where it was before, you would think there would be, a positive. But again, we'll see how that plays out. That some of that may be a little overstated, and I'm going to try to clarify it as the day goes on. But back to Hero. I say at worst he's a neutral asset, and I keep saying that. And so I think ultimately there is going to be a team that sees value again in a 23-year-old who can give you 25 a night and help carry a young team until their other stars, say it's a Wemby, or again, in Portland, he'd be playing next to a star in SGA. Fellow Kentucky guy. I know that they didn't cross over, but he'd be playing with a star already in that backcourt, which would be a pretty damn good offensive backcourt, you would think, right? And especially with Chet coming back, what we saw from some of their other young players last year. I mean, OKC is a team on the way up, and he would fit right in. Like, he would move on that train without any problem, and I think he'd be really good there. I think he'd be really good in San Antonio. I think the stage for him would be really good in Brooklyn. So it's not like they're all bad options for Tyler Hero. So getting back to this, okay, I believe ultimately still that this deal is going to get done unless Dame in some way changes his mind, and I just don't see him changing his mind. That was my biggest concern. It was not whether or not the Heat had the best package. They don't have to have the best package. I don't understand this national media narrative, mostly coming out of Boston, that you have to have the best package to make a trade. That has not been the case for the past 5 to 6 years. Leverage matters. Player leverage matters, even without a no-trade clause. If you are a franchise icon who has given everything you can to 11 years, for 11 years to an organization, to your only organization, other players are watching. And I know that we were laughed at when we said, okay, and even our guest from Portland, Aaron Fentress, agreed with us on this. In fact, he pushed this. But I know others laughed at the premise that, like, Portland's going to hurt themselves with future players. I'm not saying that future players are going to flock to Portland anyway, but there have been guys who've signed there. And also, you're developing your own young players. So let's say that they do Dame wrong, okay? And let's say Scoot develops into a star level player. Or let's say Shaedon Sharpe develops into a star level player, and it's extension time. You don't think they're going to take into some consideration whether we want to stay with an organization that did Dame wrong? Like, it hurt the Heat. Like, the Heat can get free agents. And I'm telling you, it hurt the Heat the way that they handled Dwayne in 2016, 2014 through 2016. That's why they had to overpay those guys in 2016 to show they were still a player-friendly organization. So this is not something you necessarily want to screw with. I'm not saying you just take any crap that the Heat offer or anybody else offers. I mean, Fentress said that himself. He says, doesn't mean you can just lowball them and sort of, punch your nose up at them. No. The Heat have to make a reasonable offer to them. But if they make a reasonable offer, you don't just send Dame wherever the hell you feel like sending him. And even like I'm listening to Chris Broussard talk about how they don't owe Dame anything because he's made a lot of money. Since when is that how we decide this stuff? It's a players' league. It's been a players' league since LeBron turned it into a players' league, basically. I mean, Michael had a lot to do with it. But Michael was hamstrung by the rules at the time, and Michael ended up not getting paid what he should have gotten paid. Red says Portland made the mess man. Yeah, he did. They did. It's a players' league. You don't screw with something like this, okay? You find a reasonable compromise that allows you to save face, that is palatable. And I come back to this. It's not like the cupboard is bare for Portland. They've done – I mean, the Shaedon Sharpe pick looks good, okay? Simons, we can say whether they overpaid him or not. He's a nice young player for where they drafted him. So they have something to build on, and now you've got Scoot, who you won the lottery, and you'd end up getting the guy who most people thought was a top 2 pick, and in most drafts probably would have been a number 1 pick. Many of the recent drafts, to be honest. So you have a foundation, okay? And that foundation does not fit Dame's timeline. JR, you missed the point. Organizations will do it best whether they don't have to award a player. No, they don't have to. They don't have to. But what I'm saying, JR, is there are consequences to not doing it. There are consequences. Now, if Dame was like Beal, and Beal had a no trade, obviously. But if Dame was like Beal, okay, and he was open to playing for somebody else, that's different, okay? Players have been sent to their second or third choice. Even Kyrie, okay, who shouldn't have had any leverage at all. Look at the way Dame treated Portland as opposed to the way Kyrie has treated every organization he's been with, okay? Cleveland to more so Boston, the Nets, etc., okay? They didn't send him to L.A. like he wanted to go to L.A., but Dallas was not unpalatable to him, if that's a word, okay? Kawhi is the one example of a guy who was sent somewhere that nobody's, because again, Pop was not going to send him to Los Angeles, okay? And he was sent to Toronto, and he made the best of that situation, and he reported and then won a championship, and then he left. Okay, Kawhi is one example for this. But again, Kawhi didn't do right by the Spurs at the end. Kawhi, there was that whole issue, how hurt he really was, whether he wanted to play. Has there been any of that stuff with Dame? This comes in from Cabal, and then we'll close here because we got a lot more stuff to get to today, and I got to get my daughter to camp. Cabal, Ethan, what's the possibility that Dame takes this to ugly territory? I don't think it's going to be like really ugly, like Jimmy Butler in Minnesota ugly, but I think there's going to be more and more of this passive-aggressive stuff that's going to get extraordinarily uncomfortable. Social media, Chris Haynes, that kind of stuff. I mean, does he make – here's where I think he can make it ugly. I think he can make it ugly by saying he won't report to whatever team that he's traded to. That is the nuclear move, and Aaron talked about that with us. So that's possible. Is he going to make it ugly while he's with Portland, not report to camp? I don't know about that. It's just going to be uncomfortable. Dame needs to bring out the fat suit. Maybe so. All right. Appreciate everybody. I'll just read some comments here and then we'll go. Again, thanks to Manny for producing. Dame gave Portland 11 years. That deserves more credit. Precisely. Okay. Precisely. And it doesn't matter if he didn't deliver him a championship because that wasn't his fault. That's that characterization. Well, he didn't win him a title. I don't care. Spurs are an established franchise who had the cuts. Cronin is a fresh GM. This situation would make a break for. He screws up. He's out real quick. Exactly. What has Joe Cronin ever done? I mean, right? Like, this is not, Sam Presti. This is not Pat Riley. This is not Danny Ainge. This is not Masai Ujiri. This is not somebody with championship pedigree. I mean, he's a relatively new general manager. You want to be the guy who sent that guy out. I mean, yes, in this case you do, because he's asking to be sent down. But do you want to be the guy? Sorry, I misspoke. Do you want to be the guy who screwed over your franchise icon? So this goes over DJ Ninja. It'll be the last one. So why would Miami get the 5 first-round picks and 3 4 players? Why when that wouldn't be a fair deal for Miami? 2 first, said 2 players. That's fair. Again, I think there's haggling. There's spaces in between here. There's Caleb Martin. There's Jovic. There's Jaquez. There's all of these other elements to it. The point is there is a middle ground to be found. This idea that the Heat have nothing to offer is just not correct. What the national media is looking at is they're looking at the headline piece, and they're saying Tyler is not enough, and Portland doesn't want Tyler. Well, that doesn't matter if you can move Tyler for something else. And this idea, again, that somebody like Jaylen Brown, is Jaylen Brown going to sign an extension upon getting to Portland immediately? And I just want to flip this, okay? This idea that Boston with Dame would be much better than Miami with Dame, when Miami just beat Boston on their home floor in the Eastern Conference Finals, and if you're sending Jaylen out, I'm sorry, is Tatum and Porzingis better than Bam and Jimmy? What are we doing here? What we're doing is waiting. We'll have more content on the channel, and also we'll do a 5 on the floor tonight. Like I said, we're going to have a cap expert on, and also off the floor. Make sure you subscribe there. Took a little bit of a break yesterday, but trust me, we're ready to go today. So we got a lot of stuff going on there. Thanks to Mandy for producing. All Pro Construction Builders, You Break, We'll Fix. Thank you for sponsoring. Just update you as you go. We're still doing this in August. Hopefully we're not still doing this in August. Have a good day, everybody.